Hey guys, coming in for the series premiere of the Shannara Chronicles, Season 1, Episode 1, and 2, called Chosen, because it was a Part 1, Part 2 episode. I really didn't know what the show was going to be. I was definitely interested in it because it really looked like something different for MTV. But that was the thing that really worried me because this is MTV. This is not HBO. And MTV, while they can make really good shows, lately a lot of their shows have been very shitty. Finding Carter really did get bad. I mean, I've heard about what's going on. It's still stupid. I don't like it. Then you have the Scream TV series. I didn't really know what the show was gonna be, and I wasn't hearing the greatest reviews. So I basically went into this not really knowing what I was getting into, and I have to say I'm not hooked on this show yet, and I don't love it. But I definitely thought this was a very strong premiere. I definitely really did enjoy it, and overall, I thought this was really, really good for the most part. It wasn't great, but I do think it was really good. I definitely really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens in the show. The main thing that I think brought the show down is how slow the first part of this really was. I mean, there's a lot to get through in the first part of this episode, and a lot of it I did not find to be all that compelling. Not to say it was boring by any means. I think it was quite interesting what was going on, but a lot of it I just didn't care about as much as they wanted me to. And I'll get into that, but we start off right away with getting introduced to our character Amberle, and she is this elf princess, and she's competing in this thing called the Gauntlet. It's this race in which the first 7 elves to finish will serve as the chosen for the next year, taking care of the Ellycrys in the capital city. And now the Ellycrys is this magical tree that keeps untold legions of demons at bay in a magical prison called the Forbidding. Following a war and basically we realized that there was this war that almost wiped out every living thing in the Four Lands, and as long as the Ellycrys stand, the demons remain in prison, and it's the job of the chosen to serve and protect her. Unless the demons be unleashed again. And I found all that to be very interesting. Definitely, that's basically what's going on here. I like that we know what's going on. And, Amberle is a bit of a rebellious, character, though, because most times in the Gauntlet, women have not, she is the first woman to ever compete in this race. And, everyone's telling her this isn't the best idea. She has a friend there saying this isn't good, and her fiance is telling her this might not be the best idea. Definitely, they're not really sure if she wants to do this because, the other guys are gonna, because she's the only girl and she doesn't know if she really wants to do this. And, we see Amberle's handmaiden, and Amberle is sure that she wants to do this. So right away, they're running through the woods, blindfolded, hands tied behind their backs. Throughout the race, several of the men go out of their way to knock Amberle down to keep her from finishing. But a confusing vision involving the Ellycrys spurs Amberle to pick herself up and run the race like a Jedi. There were a lot of Star Wars parallels here, definitely. She's dodging trees, jumping a ravine, while the others are clustering themselves on branches. Basically, it's just this really crazy race, and Amberle does prevail to become one of the chosen. Despite another elf knocking her over mere steps from the finish line, she knocks him over right back, literally steps on him to finish in the top 7, and she wins the race. Now, I've got to say, at this point, I wasn't that interested. I'm like, whatever, it's this race. I just felt like this really wasn't the time to see this. I didn't really feel like that was the best way to start this episode. We see her grandfather, King Evetine, and her oldest uncle, Prince, Arion. They're not pleased to see Amberle in the chosen lineup, but her younger uncle, Arden, was her gauntlet coach, and he looks very proud because, he taught her well, and he sees that she's working out very well. So I like that someone supported her. I like that everyone wasn't just like, oh, don't do this. They tried to support her. So one by one, the chosen press their palms against the Ellycrys to be accepted by her, but when Amberle touches the white bark, she sees something awful, mangled corpses, and now this part of the show I really do love. Amberle throughout the show has these visions, and this is one of them. She sees something awful, mangled corpses everywhere, the burned husk of the Ellycrys, a ruined landscape, and we see that little girl from the crowd dying in a pool of blood. I mean, it is crazy, and we don't know what any of this really means yet, but she's getting these visions, and we don't know what it means yet, and I like that we don't really know because that keeps it really interesting. So miles away in a cave, a loincloth-clad man, covered in rune-shaped scars and sleeping on a stone bier, hears Amberle scream and awakens swings with a grasp. He leaps up, activating a sword that can only be... he activates this sword, and all he says is, "It has begun," and we don't know what that means. So then we get introduced to the character of Wil, played by Austin Butler. Now, I will say that while I do like the character of Wil, Austin Butler, I do feel was a bit miscasted. There are just some scenes in this episode that doesn't work for me. To me, Wil at times came across very whiny. Just the way that Austin Butler delivered the lines, I didn't think was the best way to do that. But I really do like this character overall. I thought overall he was a very good character. He's this half-elf, half-human with, floppy blonde hair, and basically we see right away that his mother is dying, and it's her last act. She gives him this pouch with 3 blue rocks in it, and they're called Elfstones, and they're magic, and they belong to his father. And Wil's mother gasps out that he must go find the druid, and then some croaks, and basically, we know right away, before she dies, she gives this to him, and obviously he's gonna go try to find the druids, because that's, what his mom told him to do. So, basically, despite Wil's Uncle Flick begging him to throw the Elfstones in the river, Wil pockets them and leaves them on him on horseback, hoping to train as a healer in Storlock, and Flick warns him to look out for gnomes, trolls, and the nomadic, because there's a lot of danger in the world, all of whom hate elves, and Wil assures Flick that he's got this, and I'm not too sure. I mean, whenever a character says, "Oh, I've got this," that doesn't usually mean something good, and that was the case here, definitely. So back in Arborlawn, Arborlawn, we see Amberle's hanging out in this metallic dress. Basically, they're having a whole party for her victory. And she's sketching the demons that she saw in her vision. And then we get this character of Lauren, who I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not give a shit about Lauren and Amberle's relationship. I didn't. I wanted to, but because of the fact that we spend so much time on them in this episode, I didn't care about them. There's nothing new about them. There's nothing interesting about Lauren. I simply just found Lauren to be just her, caring fiance. And that's not much of a character to me. He needs something more interesting, because Amberle was so interesting. I wanted something more interesting for Lauren, and he really wasn't that interesting to me. He was just simply her fiance, and Amberle asks if he believes that the Ellycrys will really keep the Forelands safe from demons. He says no way, because magic died out with the druids, and that night the Chosen are honored with a party, and basically we see Amberle and Uncle Ander, they're joking that the member of their family the king loves best is his dog Manx, and also Anders pining for the lovely Commissioner Tilton, who seems to have moved on to his older brother Arion, and Arion's kind of a dick. I will definitely say that. Arion definitely seems like he could be the character that really does annoy me. I will definitely say that. I think a lot of his parts in this episode, his character was quite annoying, definitely. But despite the party raging around her, another vision pulls Amberle back to the Ellycrys, and this time she sees herself stabbing Lauren, and Lauren finds her immediately afterward, freaking out in front of the Ellycrys, and now this is when things definitely start to get interesting. I'm like, okay, now they can make Lauren more interesting of a character, because she doesn't know what this means. All she knows is that she could stab her supposed fiance at any point, and obviously, he's freaking out in front of the Ellycrys, and she admits that she's been having horrible visions and pleads them to stay away from her, and when he doesn't, she knocks him out with his sword and decides to leave Arborlawn, because Arborlawn is giving her these weird visions. She doesn't know what it means, and she thinks that she should get away. So we go back to Wil, and he's traveling through this landscape when he's attacked by a gas mask, wearing troll bent on murder, and luckily this fierce woman pops up and kills his assassin, and then chastises him for being dumb enough to wander alone troll country, and she also calls his halfing ears short tips, and her name is Eretria. Eretria, I think is how they pronounce it, Eretria, I can't exactly remember. She said it once, and I said it a bunch of times, but now I can't remember how she pronounced it, but, basically, I really liked her character. I thought she was really great here. She really is the tough one, and in my opinion, I really love what they're doing with her here. Her character was a bit underused in the second half of this episode, but she really got a lot to do in the first half. The second half, not as much, but the first half, she really got some great stuff here. So as they leave together, the camera pans past an ominous-looking sigil on a post, and basically, we see Wil and Eteria, how you pronounce her name? I can't pronounce her name right now. Eretria, they travel together, and basically we see that Eretria expresses, Eretria. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pronounce her name. It's not working. She expresses no interest now that ancient humans built the metal machines who rusted carcasses they're passing, and basically we then see that she takes Wil back to her place and tells him to strip, get him to the bathtub. She hands him a glass of wine and flirt talks with him, and I'm like, please don't start this stupid romance. I mean, I really didn't want them to go in just a cliche direction with them starting romance. I thought that was really stupid, and her lips smear centimeters from his own abundant ones, and Wil asks Eretria if she's worried about rovers, and then spills his guts after about the Elfstones being magic, and not a good idea, because obviously Eretria has something bigger planned, because right away you realize that she drugged him. She drugged him, and this was a plan of hers, and she steals the stones, leaves him knocked down the tub, and it's not even her house, so clearly she has a bigger plan. We don't know what it's about, and that's something I really loved. A lot of the ambiguity here is really, really good what they did. So back in Arbelon, Amberle's absence is quite quickly noticed, and Ander blames Lauren, who spills that Amberle says the tree's been communicating with her, and both men think that she's crazy, completely crazy about this, and we see that the Ellycrys keeper discovers that a giant tree is sick, which last happened exactly never. It hasn't happened before. And as he's breaking the news to the king, we see the awakened man arrives in the scene, flinging magic around, and he is the Druid Allanon, and he greets King Eventine as his old friend. And Allanon is the last Druid of Paranorn, whom everyone assumed was dead, when in fact he actually hibernated for 30 years to restore his depleted magic after the War of the Races, and it looks like he hasn't aged a day. Now that I found to be very interesting. And basically the king says that if Allanon is here, there are dark days ahead, who fought with him during the war, and we'll soon learn that Allanon and Eventine both have a habit of pronouncing everything in this booming ominous tone. A lot of their scenes, I will say, were kind of boring. The scenes between King Eventine and Allanon, I was not as into. So Allanon touches the Ellycrys and declares that she's dying. Each leaf represents a demon, and as each withers and dies, a new demon will be released into the world. Now, basically, that's setting up what we're going to see on the show, that probably we're going to come in contact with a bunch of different demons, and that definitely really does interest me. So Uncle Arion, who basically scoffs that the Ellycrys is just a fairy tale and not actually keeping them safe from whole-scale demon slaughter, and the king agrees, and basically Allanon says that if he tells that to his people when the fairy tales are ripping out their throats, and basically, I really thought that Allanon was a really great character. I really love the character of Allanon, in my opinion, because he is very aware of this world. He knows what they need to do, and he knows what's up. Like, he's not going to listen to someone like Arion. Arion, like I said, I think is very annoying at points. I mean, just the fact that he doesn't think that there's much of a threat going on, and that the Ellycrys isn't actually a thing that's just a myth, is ridiculous. I mean, Allanon, he knows what's been going on. He's been planning this for years. He's been sleeping for 30 years, and I definitely really loved about his character. I definitely thought he was really great here. So, Allanon is definitely right. We see a leaf fall off the Ellycrys and burn away, and then in a desolate part of the Forelands, a demon breaks through the forbidding. It's the Dagdamor, and interestingly, he and Allanon recite the same words, invoking the magic of the earth upon their awakening. So basically, back with, we see Wil. He wakes up naked in the tub to find a seriously unamused Allanon looming over him, and the Druid Reed flicks mind to divine Wil's whereabouts, and Wil quickly realizes that A, Allanon is the Druid his mother wanted to find, and B, Eretria stole his Elfstones. And some of the scenes between Wil and Allanon, like I said, I mean, Allanon's a really great character, but some of the scenes between them, I thought were a bit too much. I thought there were a few too many scenes between Wil and Allanon. I definitely didn't need as much as I needed to with them, but I like what they did here. I like that they tried to get these two to bond, and Allanon says that he has put their quest in jeopardy, and I like that Allanon doesn't necessarily, trust Wil, and he despairs that this is the member of the Shannara clan that he's been dealt with, and he tells Wil that only the last son of the Shannara bloodline can save the Four Lands, and Wil is surprised to learn that his ancestors were great kings and warriors. Allanon promises to show Wil how to unlock the Shannara magic that flows through his veins, which they'll need during the Ellycrys crisis, and yeah, that kind of is like Star Wars in the sense of the Force, the one that has the Force is the one that can stop, like the Force can stop anything, because, he has the Force within him, and, just like this, he has a Shannara within him, but I like it, I do like it, I know it's not necessarily original, but I think it works really well here, and Allanon booms, basically saying that his destiny awaits, and that's how the first parts of this episode ends. So overall, first part, I really did enjoy it. The second part I thought was a lot stronger, though. Like I said, there were just some things the first part I didn't like as much, but the second part, like I said, I think was a lot stronger. We see right away the Ellycrys is losing another leaf, and the Changeling escapes, taking the form of a hot demon, taking the form of this demon lady, and the Shaper perceives that the Dagdamor most desires, and the Dagdamor's kiss causes the Changeling to morph into its true form, which is this hideous monster, and the DM sends it to kill the Chosen, and basically we see Amberle tromping through the woods at night on her flight from Arbor Lawn, when a knife thrown by Eretria almost fillets her, and these two are actually lying to each other. Now, my only thing with this is that, like I said, Eretria, after this, is very underused. It's not that Eretria is a bad character. Like I said, I do like her character. I just felt here, she actually became very underused. But this was a very good scene between Amberle and Eretria, because Amberle lies and says that she's this teacher, and she's headed to the Elven mission, and Eretria says that she's actually meeting up with her husband. And this is definitely something that I think is going to come up at some point, because we know that the three main characters, Amberle, Eretria, and Wil are going to meet up. We know that's going to happen. So she pours Amberle some wine, but Amberle's far smarter than Wil and immediately pegs Eretria as a rover, and I like that Amberle is not trusting Eretria. She can just tell that, she shouldn't trust her, and Eretria in turn calls Amberle princess, having glimpsed the royal seal on Amberle's cuff, but Amberle has another vision that sets her in motion again, so she tosses Eretria her cuff in exchange for a hunk of bread, rides off with Eretria's horse and all the loot from the burglary. So Wil and Allanon head to the former fortress of the Druids, which now sits in ruins, to retrieve the Codex of Paranor, which is a book with the magical history of the Four Lands that may tell them how to save the Ellycrys, because they need to find a way to do that. And basically, Wil asks if, why don't they just call it a book of magic? Is it a druid requirement that everything has sounds so mysterious? Like I said, there were just some scenes here with Wil. The way that Austin Butler delivered some of the scenes was very whiny and at times kind of laughable. I definitely will say that. I think at times some of these scenes very laughable, and that's kind of what didn't make them as strong for me as I think they were. Mainly because the guy that plays Allanon is so great, and in my opinion, I think the best actor on the show. Honestly, Allanon probably is going to be my favorite out of everyone. But, Austin Butler's good for what he has. It's just some of his scenes I didn't really feel worked all the way. So Allanon says his mentor hid the Codex in the chamber 300 years ago, which makes Allanon way too old to be alive. So at this startling realization, Wil tries to bug out for Storlock, but Allanon says that Wil can't walk away from his destiny, and then he uses his Druid mojo to levitate everything in the room and pull out a section of wall to reveal the Codex, and suddenly Wil's a believer in magic. He believes it because he knows that Allanon can do it, so he believes him. And he does tell Wil, though, that magic always comes with a price, and definitely that's a big thing, because we see the Codex tells Allanon that the Ellycrys has a flower that will bloom and bear a single seed, which a chosen must carry to safe hold and immerse in the blood fire, and then the seed can be returned to the sanctuary where the Ellycrys will be reborn, saving the Four Lands from demon hordes, and basically that's what's going to be the plot for the rest of this season, is going to be how to stop the Ellycrys. We're going to need this single seed, and they're going to have to find that single seed, and that definitely sounds very interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. And we know that the Chosen is, Amberle. We know that she definitely is the Chosen here. She's the one that we're going to probably be following throughout most of this, along with Wil and, Eretria, but, Amberle is the Chosen, which I definitely like that we're finding out things here. They did that very well. So Wil says that doesn't sound so bad, and it's not like you need a and he says not like you need a human sacrifice or something. And Allanon then has a nasty vision of the Dagdamor, who was the greatest druid of his age before he was lured to the dark side. And it's again kind of like Star Wars in the sense of Darth Vader. Definitely, you did see that here. The Dagdamor taunts Allanon with then the demon army will soon wash across the Forelands like a black wave, and the Chosen are already dead here. So in Arborlorn, Ander finds Amberle's demon sketch, and Eventine realizes that the Chosen might be in danger and orders them to the palace for safety. But when Lauren's hanging out the Ellycrys, Amberle suddenly appears and she asks where the Chosen are. And when he tells her, she stabs him in the gut, and Lauren dies. I don't know why, but she killed him. And yeah, so she killed Lauren, and basically Lauren dies thinking the woman he loved killed him, and then Amberle's eyes flash silver red because it's not actually her, it's actually the Changeling, and Lauren dies, and I didn't really care, I have to say. I'm sorry, I didn't. I mean, if they would have developed Lauren's character a bit more, make him a bit more interesting, I would have cared. But because of the fact that their relation was simply just that, and for my, I personally feel they did that because the audience that watches MTV will want a relationship like Amberle and Lauren, and that's why they casted him. I personally felt like I didn't really care about his character as much as I wanted to. So when he died, I was kind of just like, okay, whatever. I didn't really care. So by the time Allanon and Wil arrive, it's too late. All the Chosen are dead except the missing Amberle, of course, and it's bad. There's man, blood, and broken bodies everywhere, and Prince, and basically Arion argues that this is the work of gnomes, but Allanon says it was the Dagdamor. And again, Arion is stupid. I don't know why he's not listening to Allanon. It's really annoying. And Allanon says that the Dagdamor won't be truly free to walk the earth until the last magical leaf has fallen, and until then he'll dispatch demons to do his dirty work. So I like the way we're setting this up. We know the Dagdamor is basically going to be our main villain here. He's going to send demons to finish up his plan, and until they get that seed for, until that magical leaf has fallen, he's gonna dispatch demons to do his dirty work. And I'm pretty sure the way they're gonna do this is that a couple leaves are gonna fall, we're gonna see some more demons, and we're not gonna actually see much of the Dagdamor till the last episode of this season, because there are 10 episodes, and I think that definitely is very interesting. So Wil says if you kill the Chosen, kill the Ellycrys, and basically that's the plan, is that if they're gonna kill Amberle, and then they're gonna kill the Ellycrys, which is obviously not gonna happen. So Arion accused Eventine of being under the Druid's thrall, and although the king planned to abdicate the throne in a few months, Arion demands that this happen immediately so Arion can put a stop to this nonsense too about the magic, because he still doesn't believe it. It's really annoying that Arion doesn't believe all this magic. I understand he hasn't witnessed it, but I mean, Allanon is pretty knowledgeable. Like, I don't know why he doesn't trust him, but Eventine barks that a true leader doesn't run at the beginning of a crisis, and Arion asks if Eventine wants to be remembered as the king who believed in demons. He drops the mic, leaves the room, and Arion, like I said, I don't like him. I don't like his character. So Allanon tells Wil that they need to get Amberle back to Arborlorn, and if the Dagdamor find her before they do, the world will end, and basically Allanon thinks that there's a demon spy in the castle, and we of course know that that's the Changeling, but we don't know who it's impersonating, and that's something I really love about this creature. The fact that it can take any form that it wants to, that's something that's really interesting, because this Changeling could really mess with people in the sense that you could have Wil think that, his own uncle, the Changeling could take the form of Allanon, and it could say something that Allanon wouldn't, and Wil could think that Allanon betrayed him. I mean, that definitely, and the fact that Wil doesn't know really about that, I think is definitely interesting. So following a search of Amberle's room, Wil guesses that she left to visit her pariah, who exiled herself years ago. She had a falling out with her brother after she fell in love with a human, and Eventine refused to give his blessing, and this knocks the wind out of the long-lived, slow-to-age Allanon, because pariah was in love with him, and obviously he didn't want to, he didn't think he'd see her again, and Allanon stresses that nobody outside the room can know Amberle's location to keep her safe until they arrive, and Manx, the king's beloved dog, perks up at this news, and his eyes flash silver red, and basically we realize that the real Max is dead. Yes, they've killed off a dog, and this is actually, of course, the Changeling, and Amberle is actually with Pyria. She's with her aunt, and they have this sweet reunion. Amberle, though, jumps right into the reason for her visit. She wants to know about magic during the War of the Races, and she explains her visions of the future and confesses that she thinks it's all happening because she broke the rules and competed to be a chosen, and, she thinks that this is her fault. And something I like is that Amberle doesn't know what Wil knows. Wil is probably going to educate Amberle to let her know what's going on. I really do like that. So the only other scene we get of Eretria in this episode is basically she's reunited with a rover family led by Sephelio, who's angry that she was outsmarted by an elf and returned empty-handed on her first solo run. But she does have the Elfstones, however, they're useless without someone to unlock their magic, and Sephelio is not a nice man. He reluctantly agrees to give Eretria her freedom so she can find Wil, who he assumes can show them how to work the magic, and you can definitely tell there's something more going on. I like that. But we don't fully know what's going on with her. I really do like her character. I just want to know more. I really do. I just need more in terms of what they're going to do with her, because they could end some really cool direction there. I just need to know what they're going to do, because definitely I'm interested. I am intrigued. I just need to know what's going on there. So Wil tries to get Allanon to talk about his relation with the king's sister, and he doesn't really want to talk about it, obviously, and Wil deflects the conversation to discuss his father and uncle. We get that terrible line, by the way, how old are you, 350? The reason I say it's a terrible line is because it reminds me of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Enough said. That's why. But Wil deflects conversation to discuss his father and uncle, who helped Allanon find the sword of Shannara years earlier, and Allanon says that his father is the only reason the world didn't fall in the darkness 30 years ago. So Wil is confused by this because, Shia, his father, died a sad, lonely drunk, and Allanon reminds him that magic comes with a price, and this was the toil it took on Wil's father. But I basically think that this means that Wil is headed in a very dark direction, definitely. I think Wil, maybe this season will have it good, but I definitely think, next season, things are going to go really bad for Wil. I don't think it's going to happen yet. I think definitely next season, that's when it's going to happen. And Wil's trying to figure out, should I use magic, should I not? And that's a very compelling journey to go to, is for, the big question is Wil going to be as unsuccessful as his father is, and is he going to be as unfortunate? That's really the big question here. So we see Allanon start to warm up to Wil the tiniest bit. He definitely is starting to bond with him, and I like seeing that. And finally, Allanon and Wil ride up to Pyria, who's astounded to see her former love, and Wil runs off to fetch Amberle, leaving the Druid alone with his ex, and you see that things are interesting between the two of them. And again, a lot of Star Wars Force Awakens parallels here. I felt a lot like the Han and Leia scenes in Star Wars Force Awakens was like this. I hate to compare this to Star Wars, but that's very much what this felt like. This very much felt like Star Wars The Force Awakens. And that's something I thought was really cool, actually. I really like that they did that, even with the fact that this wasn't, something that, this isn't some characters we've seen before. I really felt like we understood these characters very well here. These are two characters that wanted to be together, and Pyria, felt like he abandoned her, and now he's returned, and she doesn't really know what to do, because, she's grown old while he's still the same age, and she doesn't really know, well, he's not the same age, but he looks the same age, and she really doesn't know what to do about that, and I'm very interested in this, and I'm really interested in seeing what direction they could take this in. Definitely, this is one of the most interesting plots of the show, without a doubt. So Allanon tells her that he didn't have a choice but to go into Druid hibernation after the war, and he says that she will never know how sorry he is, and definitely mentions seeing how their scenes play out. And Wil does track down Amberle, and we see that the first second he sees her, she's completely naked in a waterfall, and he gives Amberle a chance to slip out of the water, threatening him with a knife, and she glimpses his ears, and he explains that he's a half-elf, and basically just showing that they can trust each other. He tries to convince her that she needs to return to Arbalon, and she's horrified to learn that the Ellycrys is dying. And again, I like that she didn't know about this. He definitely is going to kind of be like her teacher, and this is something I definitely like here. and we see that in Arborlorn, another leaf falls, and a new demon is released. It's a Fury, and it flies straight to Amberle's location while knocking Allanon off a cliff and attacking Pyria, who screams alert Wil and Amberle that something's wrong. They arrive on the scene at a run. The Fury abandons Pyria's body to menace them. Wil shoves Amberle behind him, and the face is down the enormous monster with only a tiny dagger to protect them, and that's how the episode ends. So overall, guys, I definitely feel like the next episode is going to be really awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to it because it's actually already online. I can watch, like, episodes 3 and 4 before they premiere, before they, actually come on, because MTV put out the next few episodes, which I think is really cool. They did that, so I can definitely check that out. I really do like this show, I have to say. I definitely really do like a lot of things about this show. I think the acting here from the main 3 leads, they're really good, but like I said, I think the real standout, without a doubt, for me at least, is Manu Bennett as Allanon. I just think he's great. You see how experienced he is. You see the type of characters he's. I'm so interested in seeing where they're going to go with him. And then Pyria as well. I'm hoping they don't kill her off because I really love to see how their scenes go. Definitely am interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I also really am interested in seeing where they're going with Eretria. There's some really great stuff there they could do with her, and I don't necessarily know where they're going there, so that really interests me. Like I said, Austin Butler at times is a bit awkward. I think he's going to get more comfortable into the role, but this is the first, like, real serious role he's done. He had a role on Switched at Birth, but it wasn't too big. This is the first, like, lead role he's had, so I'm hoping he gets really good. I think he can get really good. I mean, we have to remember that when Tyler Posey was first on Teen Wolf, he was awful, okay? He really was bad on the first season of Teen Wolf, and everyone said it. I'm going to say it too. He really wasn't great, but since then, he's gone really comfortable into the role, and he's become a really great actor. And I think Austin Butler, he's been acting for years. It's just he isn't used to this kind of role, so there were just some lines he said that were a bit awkward. But I really like the direction he's headed. He knows about what happened to his father, and his big question. The big thing is he going to use this magic? Is he going to use it? Is he going to find a way to save, Pyria and Amberle without it? That definitely interests me. I really like Poppy Drain as Amberle. I think she has everything that you need in a character like this. I think she's really great. I definitely really loved her character. The visuals in this show are incredible. I think they look amazing. I mean, you definitely see that this was once our world, but it's now broken. They definitely portrayed all that very, very well. I really enjoyed that. I really like the mythology in this show. I think the story itself is really interesting. I'm really interested in seeing where they're going to take it, because there are definitely some interesting directions they could go here. My only worry with this show, and this is just because eventually it's going to be these 3 going on a quest, is when we eventually do set up those 3 going on that quest, is this show going to be a love triangle? Because I really hope they don't do that. That'd be really dumb, and I don't think this is the show that needs to do that. If they are going to do that, fine, but you need to find a way to do it like Girl Meets World is doing it. That's the way to handle love triangle. I've said it a million times, that's the way to do it, and I don't like forced love triangles. That's the thing that killed Finding Carter for me, as one of those storylines with the forced love triangles, and I really hope this show doesn't do that. MTV seems to be doing that a lot lately, and I really hope they don't do that here. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys saw of this show. I overall really do like this show. I think it has a lot of potential. Like I said, I'm not completely invested yet. I definitely am interested in seeing where they're going to go, where they're going to, where they're going to take this whole thing. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season premiere of American Crime. I know I stopped watching last season, but the storyline for this season really interests me, so I'm definitely going to probably stick around with it, and I'm definitely going to check out the first episode, and that will be my next review, and we'll see you guys for that. Again, let me know what you guys saw this premiere. Do you think this show is going to be successful? I really do think it's going to be successful. I think it's going to be one of MTV's big shows, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.